Thanks for checking out another clip of the Cashflow Contractor. We'd love to have you as a part of our audience. Click subscribe wherever you get your podcast. So let's start. We're going to talk about mindset. We're going to get into this uncapped definition. But before we get into the uncapped definition, why don't we define kind of what got you to this realization that your mindset is what was holding you back?
I was accepting these ceilings over me that I could never get there because, because of this excuse or that excuse. I was creating these limits over the top of me, and I was fixing my mindset. Really, is what I was doing. So that's really kind of where, and it was even in moments of overwhelm. I remember coming home one night, just late at night, like we all do, grind. We finally come home. Family's already eating dinner, and you start asking that question: what is this all about? And we've all been there. I'm grinding away, but this just continual grind of that pattern, of that pattern of coming in late and missing out on things, and like, what is this all for? And it was at that moment, like, I got to find ways to make more time for myself, to make better systems, and really, it was the idea of an uncapped income at first. So how do I create? You hear about passive income all the time, and where how do I make money while sitting at home, right? And someone else. So it was the idea of trying to unpack that, and then I realized if I get that right, if I just focus on income, I might have money in the bank, and I might have more time. But if I don't learn what it is to have faith and be that father, leader in my home, my family. And if I don't understand mindset or what work means, how do all this stuff come together, then I knew that income wouldn't be worth unpacking, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I started to look at these 5 pillars in my life and go, how do I break each one of these down? And how do I start putting systems in place to make sure that I'm not putting limits on my faith, my family, my mindset, my work, and my income?
Yeah. Can you just give us a better picture of like where you were when you really came like to this realization? Were you at rock bottom? What was your business like? What was your family like? What was your income like? Like, what was your time like? Can you unpack that for us? Because I think there's listeners that hear this and they hear you say, I just need systems. I mean, if I just had more money, if I just had more time, and so they resonate with that. But I want to really get like what was it really like when you came to this like realization that something had to give?
I think for me, it was pressure. It's about breaking off the pressure to perform and building a life of purpose instead. So that day to day, I got to perform. I got all these mouths to feed inside these businesses. And if I don't perform, then they don't feed their families. And that's a lot of pressure. Yeah. And it's not, I was just hustling for hustle's sake, just self-help grind, but real movement happens from the inside out. And I knew that I needed to change something, and I knew there were some things that need to be adjusted and fixed. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm still on that journey. I haven't mastered this.
Right.
I don't know if we ever will, but that's really what it was for me, is that this pressure, the stress from all these things of having your own businesses, from not just the business side, but the family side, the time side, the providing side. That's
Did
really
you have
where
little
that
ones at the
moment was.
time?
Yes. Yes.
What was that like?
Yeah, this has just been in the last couple of years. So I have an 8-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 16-year-old. So, and in the last couple of years is really where I've been focusing on trying to develop these principles. So, I mean, this is recent for me.
Oh, good.
I wish I could have gone back, 5-10 years ago and tried to implement some of this. But again, it was just, you're grinding, you're hopping from one book to the other. You might listen to a podcast like we're on today that really motivates you, and you apply it for a month or so, and then you default back, right? We can easily so default, as we're going to talk a little bit later, if we don't define.
Well, let's jump into that. What do you mean by define?
I mean, it's this idea of the story you're telling yourself. And that story can be shaped by your own internal thinking, or it can be labels that was put on you by your parents, your siblings, or failures that you've had in life. But we let those write the stories in our mind, in our life. And that might not necessarily be the true story. We have to choose an identity that's aligned with our values, our calling, and the truth, right?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
what you're talking about right there is one of the most important things we'll talk about, that we let other people define our identity, and you have to pay, or events. I mean, events, people, or just yourself, and that subconscious that you're telling yourself you think you're a loser, you think you can't do this, you think, or maybe not a loser, but you're no good at something, or um, you have to become aware that that's what you think, don't you? So that you can change it.
Absolutely. I struggled with that. I was in law enforcement for 10 years. And I, that thought of, well, how all that my own experience I have as law enforcement, how's anybody going to take me serious in the business world because I was a cop? And it's that I'm not good enough. And I guarantee you, everybody on this is listening and right here on this podcast, you had that thought come to your mind. I'm not good enough. And that's okay. We're going to have those thoughts. It's what we do with them and how long we hold on to them. And is that going to be really the definition of ourselves? Is I'm not good enough? No, I'm going to take, again, self-commit. I'm going to take charge of that, and I'm going to redefine myself as I'm a builder. I'm a good steward. I'm a leader. It's about telling that story to yourself. That's what you need to be. So I like the idea of we reclaim the pen. We write it ourselves, and don't let circumstances be the author of who we're telling ourselves we are. Reclaim the pen. Write it yourself.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of allowing what you do to define who you are, rather than thinking about who you are and letting that define what you do. I think that focus on defining who you want to become and chasing after that is extremely important. But whenever we just think about what to do and what we should be doing right now, we're actually missing the bigger point, and we haven't actually defined who we are and letting that influence the decisions we make, the actions we take, et cetera, et cetera. So once you were able to sit down and define yourself, well, why don't you tell us, how did you define yourself? What was your definition for yourself?
I'm reliable, capable, trusted, and dedicated. That was kind of my mantra. I'm reliable, trusted, dedicated, capable, and dedicated. Those were, some words that I chose that I wrote down, tried to wake up every morning and apply those. And then that's who I really am. And so throughout my day, when I'm dropping the ball and not getting a project done or getting something, no, hey, I'm reliable. I'm going to get it done. And if I don't have all four of those words, I don't have to go through each one of them, but you get the idea of those are the four words that I used to kind of give myself identity.
And why did you choose those words?
I think those were areas that I was struggling with just in the season a few years ago, coming out of COVID and being complacent. We all got really comfortable, and we all got really lazy. And so that's where I found myself. And so those were the words that kind of really gave me a boost back to this is who I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Before we got on, we talked about 5 areas, kind of ways you do it, like self-definition. Could you talk about some of those? I think those are methods that you use. Is that correct?
Right. It's really kind of, these 5 principles. There's 5 practices that you can apply to really kind of get this operating system going for your mindset. Because if we don't get mindset right, and that's really why I'm really excited to talk about mindset, first of all, is because if we don't get our mindset right, it's going to be really hard to uncap your faith and your family and everything else that comes with that. So so that's where we're going to start.
Okay, so once you've defined yourself, what's that next? You've given us your definition of yourself. You're reliable, you're capable. What's the next step from there? Is it just to say those things over and over again? Is it just to write them down on paper? What does that look like?
Well, I think writing them on paper is good. That kind of gets to another principle we'll talk about a little bit. But then you got to lead the mission. Don't follow the mood. So those things that you've defined yourself as, you got to take ownership. This is really who I am. This isn't just some mantra that I'm going to write down. And you have to choose obedience to your purpose over the submission to the temporary feelings of I'm not capable. I'm not reliable. That's not taking ownership and self-command, because now you're fighting to get yourself. So, you come from defining who you are, and then you have to lead that mission of who you are. You have your marching orders now. Go. It's that inner leadership inside of yourself. discipline over drama, and the ownership of your response. Right now, I'm going this month of May. I'm going to my boys' a Bible study with them, and it's about accountability and responsibility. And our mantras: you got to own it, live it, and finish it. So that's self-command. It's taking ownership of.
Thanks for checking out a clip from the Cashflow Contractor. We have full episodes where we go deep on topics that help you grow a construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, more money. Now, we've got other videos, other clips, but if you want to check out the full episode for this clip, you can click wherever our editor put it. It might be here, it might be there, it might be over my face, I don't know. But thank you for checking us out. We'd love to have you as a part of our audience. So subscribe or check out a full episode wherever you get podcasts.